All right. I am finally here with Anne. Anne, thank you so much for joining me.
My
Really,
pleasure.
really appreciate it. So why don't you tell us, your name, a little about yourself, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm Ann Notek. I live in Brownsburg, Indiana, just west of Indianapolis.
Hmm.
I am an attorney with the state of Indiana currently.
Hmm.
I came out of private practice about a year and a half ago
Yeah.
and went back to government work.
Hmm.
Um, I have two adult sons. I foster cats for a hobby. I have some brand new kittens in the house, so that's fun.
Yeah.
And otherwise, I guess that's the
Yeah.
gist of it.
That's the gist. I love it. So you got a lot of cats, you got kids. Um, how did you find us, by the way?
So when I was in private practice
Hmm.
practicing family law, I am friends with Travis Van Winkle, who has
Yeah.
been one of your clients for some
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Travis and I have known each other for a number of years,
Hmm.
and I, like kind of all of our extended attorney group, watched Travis literally shrink away. Um, and also, I think learn how to deal with the stress of a very stressful
Yeah.
job situation
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
more effectively over
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
So, when I finally decided that, trying to accomplish anything lasting on my own just really was
Mhm.
not being successful, and it was time to bring in some expertise and support.
Right.
I, I mean, you look at Travis and the results speak for themselves.
Yeah.
So I talked to him and he referred me to your group and to Dylan.
Yeah.
I
Right
mean,
on.
to
So,
Dylan and then also to Kyle, my
of
trainer.
course, yeah, yeah, yeah. Kyle's your coach. Shout out to Kyle. And so yeah, maybe you can tell us a little bit about like, I mean, you summed it up a little bit. Maybe you can expand on it a little bit. What you were struggling with specifically before you entered the program.
So I think the main thing I was struggling with was just accountability and
Hmm.
sustaining anything over a long period of time. I had had periods where I either got into a workout jag or
Right.
into a healthy eating plan for a
Right.
while, and then typically, I don't know, 3 to 4 months in, when things started getting a little old, a little
Right.
tired, or
Right.
something blew up, or my
Hmm.
job got stressful, then it would go by the wayside.
Yeah.
So I think I just realized that, there are a lot of things in my life that I have invested in over time,
Right.
such as, my education or my children
Hmm.
or, whatever.
Yeah.
And that it was the time in my life where if I was going to make a smart investment, um, you know, investing in my health was really what I wanted to do
Yeah.
proactively,
Yeah.
rather than wait for something bad to happen and react to it.
Right. Right. And how long had you been kind of on and off with your fitness and nutrition before you came in?
Um, I mean, really, years,
Yeah.
but there would be times where I just really wouldn't take it seriously. I did have
Right.
a good run during the COVID shutdown
Yeah.
when I bought a bike and
Uh-huh.
started doing a lot of road riding.
Right.
But then, in the wintertime that stopped, or when I
Right.
got
Right. Right.
busy or so forth.
Right.
I always have done the super slow workout, which is a
Hmm.
20-minute workout once a week,
Yeah.
just for kind of a baseline strength training.
Yeah.
So I always had that base going, even if that was literally the only thing I was doing.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that that was very helpful,
Great.
not starting totally from zero.
Right.
But I've really built on that in the last
Yeah.
6 months.
Yeah. And how do you feel? And that's great that, you did that regardless of everything going on. How do you feel like the programs really helped you kind of bridge that sustainability gap to actually like stick with it for good this time?
For one thing, I would say that the accountability is 90%.
Yeah.
And, there are weeks where, Kyle and I, maybe we won't even talk in person. Maybe we'll just
Yeah.
message back and forth. But the
Right.
fact that I know he is always there,
Yeah.
behind the scenes watching,
Mhm.
it's kind of like Santa Claus or something.
Yeah.
He's
Always
always
watching.
watching,
Yeah.
um, that always makes me think. And the other thing is that I don't think I had ever gone through a phase where I consistently tracked calories.
Yeah.
It was more like keto or low carb or this or that,
Mhm.
intermittent fasting,
Yeah.
different things that are elements. But
Yeah.
I mean, the bottom line is I didn't really start losing significantly until I was tracking calories
Yeah.
to a limit, a
Yeah.
hard limit every day.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they do research on it. There's a new piece of research coming out of UCLA here on My Fitness Pal. And it shows like the most simple thing. People that track every single day, they hit their goal weight. It's like, yeah, well, no doubt. It's like, but like hearing that, it's just it's different. So obviously that's very helpful, obviously, having the accountability for you. What results have you been seeing on the program and in your transformation so far?
Um, Other than knowing that I'm a lot stronger,
Yeah.
I take, as many steps as I can. I take stairs as much as I can.
Yeah.
I have taken up some rucking just to build,
Ah,
so I know that I'm a lot stronger, and just focusing on maximizing the amount of steps that I can take rather than trying to take shortcuts or park close or whatever.
yeah.
That has been, just feeling better as I move through my daily life.
Yeah.
And then, I have had to buy new clothes, going from kind of maxing out everything that I had in my wardrobe to wearing things that I haven't worn in over 20 years.
Wow.
Amazing that they're still in the closet, but
Right. Yeah.
how it
Yeah.
goes.
How much are you so
Um,
far?
and I have noticed that the few times, like I took a trip recently, it was pretty challenging to try to
Yeah.
find healthy food to eat.
Hmm.
A lot of receptions, a lot of, I
Sure.
mean, more alcohol than I'm used to these days, all of
Right.
that. And I really felt like crap.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
noticed, like, not only I'm used to feeling pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. And how much weight have you lost since I think you started, I guess you're 6 months in right now,
I'm
right?
6 months in, and I will say one of the things Kyle did was had me refeed. So I really lost 45 pounds probably in like 4 months.
Yeah. And now
And
you're
then
doing
the
repeat.
last couple months has been a refeed. And, one of the things that I think he is doing is, since he has his eye really on the long game,
Yeah.
I think my tendency would be like, hey, let's cut it again. Let's start
Hmm.
losing. And he's like,
Hmm.
well, let's just see.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So you're in that reverse dieting, that metabolic priming phase, actually eating more food over time, right?
Right.
How's that been for you? Doing the
Well,
opposite of
I mean, he kept adding and adding and adding, and I think I'm really I think that I've maxed out, but he keeps saying I'm losing. I don't
yeah.
know. I'm not a math person. I don't know how he does his math. I'm not convinced, but but I also have over time come to really trust what he advises.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, the data is the data. If he's seeing the average loss go down, it must be going down, right? And I guess like with that said, you're feeling stronger. You're more in a routine now. You're feeling more sustainable. Like, how's that feeling now compared to like how you were feeling before you started the program?
It's made it just has made a huge difference in my outlook, and I think just confidence in how I move through the world.
Yeah.
I don't feel as old.
Okay.
Um, I for a while I was having um, some hip pain and some
Mhm.
lower back pain and a
Yeah.
lot of creaking and popping. I still have some
Sure.
of the creaking and popping,
Hmm.
but I really it's just not as noticeable.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. And last question here, Anne. Someone that's on the fence about doing the program, they really want to do it, but they're just not sure. What would you tell someone kind of like thinking about it, but maybe scared to commit to it? Like, what would you say to another person in that position?
Well, I think that there's a tendency to think of it as something you can always do later and get around to.
Yeah.
Part of what I listened to Peter Attia's book
Yeah.
and got the concept of health span,
Yeah.
which really made a lot of sense to me. I'm
Hmm.
like, it's how great is it to live to be 95 if you can barely move?
Right.
and just absolutely are in a state of, decline.
Right.
I've watched that with some family members. So that's kind of the stick part.
Mm.
The carrot part is just, I really want to enjoy the next 20, 25 years of my life. I want to be able to travel. I'd like to get, one of my goals is to get off of blood pressure medication.
Yeah.
The only way to do that is, you know, with exercise and weight control and
Yeah.
lifestyle changes.
Hmm.
So I think, there's the promise of having a just a healthier,
Yeah.
I guess, late middle age,
Yeah.
early old age,
Hmm.
and really enjoy myself and do the things that I want to do,
Yeah.
um, as long as I can.
Yeah.
And I
Absolutely.
feel like, I'm not, it's not like I feel like I'm that old right now.
Hmm.
Um, but it sneaks up on you.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And obviously you mentioned earlier, like, I just don't feel as old anymore.
Right.
you know and I know obviously you're halfway through the program. I'm excited to watch the rest of your journey. Thank you so much for hopping on. Really appreciate it. I know a lot of people, I know I want to interview you sooner
Yeah,
than I
it's my
usually
pleasure.
do.
And I really, I guess what I would just say to people if they're thinking about it, think about some of the stuff that you spend money on. This is truly an investment in yourself.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things is along with the accountability, um, we value things that we pay for.
Hmm.
And thinking that you are going to get the results on your own. If it were that easy, everyone would just do it. Or if
Yeah.
it were just, if you could just do it with an app, you just do it with an app.
Yeah.
um but I think, having the personal guidance really, makes all the difference.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that, and thank you again so much for hopping on, and I really
Yeah, my
appreciate it.
pleasure. Thanks for having me.